Hi everyone, I'm Megan, and welcome back to another episode of There I Read It, where I'm covering the Harry Potter and the Everything books, chapter by chapter, for the first time ever. Messed up a bit there, but we are on Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban today. The Flight of the Fat Lady is the name of the chapter. I believe that is chapter 8. Let me pop open my notes and see. Yes, I am right. Chapter 8. And we have a little bit happening in this chapter, but not really a whole lot. There's sort of a wide array of things that go on. We're basically going from September through the end of October. So let me jump into these notes and just cover what I thought was interesting enough to write down. In addition to the Bogarts, Defense Against the Dark Arts has also brought out red caps, which are these little goblin-like creatures that go wherever bloodshed has been, and kappas, which I always associate to a Japanese demon kind of thing, but they describe them as water-based and scaly monkey-looking things. And because of the Bogart situation where Neville was afraid of Snape, so the Bogart turned into Snape and then Neville put it in his grandmother's vulture hat and ugly dress, Snape has been very angry to hear about that because it's the talk of the school, and so he's been bullying Neville even worse than before. And that really troubles me a lot more than things I've read with Dudley or Malfoy or anybody else bothering Harry. And I don't know if that's because Neville is sort of not quite sickly, but he's a little bit pathetic, and he knows it and he owns it. And I don't know, but that makes me feel really bad for him. Like, he has my heart for that because he knows he's not as good as everybody else, but he still wants to be there and he's trying his best, and some people just hate him anyways. Like, there's nothing you can do about that when you're trying to be sincerely you. And I know this is taking place in the 90s, so bullying was seen as an entirely different thing back then, but you would think that there would be some kind of repercussion or some kind of something to stop Snape from acting so nasty towards a student. And apparently Hagrid's Care of Magical Creatures class has gotten to be so boring because after doing all the things with the, what were they called, hyptogryphs or hippogriffs? Okay, I wrote down hippogriffs in my chapter 6 notes, so that must be right, I assume. I always thought there was a T in there, though, when I'd watch the movies. But yes, because the hippogriff situation got Malfoy hurt, Hagrid has really reined in the class, and now all they're doing is taking care of flubberworms, which are very gross and boring. So nobody's really happy with Care of Magical Creatures at this point. And then it's October, it's time for Quidditch to start amping up, and Oliver Wood comes out, and it's explained that this is his 7th year, so this is his final year at Hogwarts. That would also mean he is in the same class as Percy, even though you never really hear about them interacting. You would think that people would kind of be more aware and friendlier to each other. Maybe they are and we just don't see it, but it's strange to me. Like, I never connected Oliver Wood and Percy Weasley as being the same, or at least in the same classes and really knowing each other. I don't know why, I have a bit of a frog in my throat right now. I've been yelling at my kids too much. Anyways, though, Oliver starts talking about how they have to win the Quidditch Cup this year because they've never won one in the 7 years that he's been at Hogwarts. And looking at it statistically and how the players move, they should be the #1 team. However, if you remember in Harry's first year, he was injured due to that Professor Quirrell incident, so he couldn't play in the finals. And then in the second year, the tournament got canceled due to the chamber snake coming out and taking Ginny Weasley. And you would think that they would have rescheduled that match at some point for the second year at least, but I guess they never did. I don't know who wins in that kind of a situation, or if anybody does, but Oliver Wood is very upset and he's like ready to cry that we have to win this year. We have to do it this year. So I hope they get it. You know, I hope that he gets that satisfaction he's looking for. It seems like Wood works really hard for it, so I'd like to see him get that achievement that he wants so badly. And it is then announced that the first trip to Hogsmeade is going to be on Halloween Day. And for some reason, I have not noticed them do this previously, but in this version of the book, which is the illustrated edition, I've suddenly realized that they spell it Hallowen. Halloween? There's already 2 E's in there to elongate it. What is the apostrophe for? That doesn't sound right to me. Maybe maybe that is something that they do in Britain that I'm just not familiar with, but Halloween? I mean, that's how you would say that. That sounds horrible. It's Halloween. Just let it be simple. And Crookshanks appears. He's gobbling up a spider and then gets really fixated on Ron and his bag. And of course, Scabbers is in Ron's bag. And then Crookshanks goes after the bag. Scabbers gets out, runs around. Ron has to scoop up Scabbers and save him. And he describes Scabbers as being skin and bones. So whatever it was that Ron bought to try and help Scabbers get better, it doesn't seem to be working. He still looks really sickly. And you would think that there would be some kind of vet or something for creatures at the school, but I guess not. Like, what do you do if your pet gets sick? I mean, they obviously aren't going to Madame Pomfrey, or Ron would have done that already. But for those of you following along with me who haven't read it before, I'm going to try to say this without spoilers. And again, my memory is really fuzzy for the movies. I'm being very diligent not to watch them until after I finish the books. So I haven't seen the movie since it was new. But based on the little bits and pieces that I do remember, it is weird to me that Ron is looking at Crookshanks going, oh, there's something bad about that cat. There's something off about that cat. That, you know, there's something, like, they're trying to make us feel like Crookshanks is gonna be some kind of bad guy. And maybe he will be, and I'm just totally forgetting or confused. But knowing what's going on with, I'll just say, other animals, it's weird that Ron says that, because it's another example where they're trying to Scooby-Doo us and make us think, okay, look here, look here, look here. And then you're not noticing that over here on the other side, the actual bad stuff is happening. Anyways, then the trio is going off to, I think, one of their classes, and they come up to Lavender Brown just sobbing. And it turns out that her baby rabbit, Binky, was killed by a fox, and it's October 16th, which was the date that Professor Trelawney had given her. I believe the exact phrasing was, that thing you're dreading is going to happen on October 16th. And so that really cements in the heads of these kids that Professor Trelawney is legit. And perhaps she is. I mean, it's possible, but I don't know. She does seem a little kookadooks to me, so I don't really feel as invested in her as obviously Lavender Brown would at this point. I mean, when she called the teacup thing with Neville, that showed that she does have some type of foresight, but foresight is one of those funny things where you don't always have long distance foresight. Like, you can see what's going to happen in 5 minutes, but maybe not what's going to happen in a month or a year or a decade from now. You know, it's odd how that sort of thing can work. And of course, this is comparing it with the supernatural types of things I know from the real world of what people claim to be able to do. Personally, I don't find myself to be like a psychic or a foreseer or anything like that, but I am very empathic. Like, I can feel people, like, I don't know the right words, almost like their aura, their energy, like I can feel it. So somebody could just look totally normal, or they could just say things in just the right way and nobody else catches that they're seething with anger, but I do. Or, you know, I people watch a lot and I can be like, oh, well, let's see, she's pregnant, he's gonna take off on her by the time that this baby's born because he ain't gonna be able to handle the responsibility. And whoop, that's exactly what happens with these people that I barely know. So even though I don't think I have any type of, you know, real foresight power, there are people out there who can just pick up on things like that and put together these clues or sense these vibes, and they've just lived with it for so long that they know how to put the puzzle pieces together. And I think that's kind of like how Trelawney is, but pulling out October 16th out of all the days in the year is very eye-opening. I think it's very, maybe we want to watch her closer than we have been. Then the kids go to Transfiguration, and McGonagall is like, oh, by the way, since I'm the head of Gryffindor, all the Gryffindors need to turn in their Hogsmeade permission slips to me, otherwise they can't go. And Neville's like, I think I lost mine. And McGonagall's like, no, your grandma just sent it straight to me. She knows what you're about, kid. But after class, Harry tries to get McGonagall to sign his permission slip, or to just, you know, sort of look the other way and let him go with the other kids, because he wants to go so bad. Harry doesn't want to be the only kid that doesn't get to go to Hogsmeade. And McGonagall's just like, no, I'm sorry, you can't. No way. And as a kid, I understand how that can be very hurtful and disappointing, but from the adult perspective, that is exactly the right thing to do. I mean, even if Harry didn't have a psychopath trying to hunt him down right now, this kid has proven time and time again that he makes stupid decisions, so I would not want that to be on my head or the school's head and make everybody else liable when Harry goes off and does something else stupid. But even so, he's a 13-year-old kid at this point. He's grumbling about it. Ron's grumbling about it. Hermione's like, oh, just as well. And Ron and Hermione promise to bring back Harry a bunch of stuff from Honeyduke's, which is the candy store, I think. Yeah, because I think it was the Three Brooms that does the butterbeer. I didn't write down the names of all the shops. Darn it, I should have. But then Harry's just kind of bummed out, wandering around. He sees Colin Creevey, which I was kind of excited to see him again because he really hasn't popped up at all since the second book. And since only third years and higher can go to Hogsmeade, the first and second years are in the common room at Gryffindor Tower. And Colin's like, oh, Harry, come hang out with me and my friends. And Harry's just like, no. And Harry just goes milling around the castle until Professor Lupin spots him and calls him into his classroom. And Lupin just got in a Gryndilo, which is a really gross water demon. The illustrated version has kind of a cool picture of it. Anybody who's watching the podcast, just head on over to youtube.com/thefanily and check out this cool drawing. But yeah, that thing is freaky nightmare fuel, right? And apparently the secret to getting around a Gryndilo is to mess up their really long, brittle fingers, but ew, my bonitis, I don't like to think about that too much. But Harry's in the classroom by himself with Lupin. Lupin offers to make him tea, and Harry decides to take this opportunity to kind of moan about not getting to face off with the Bogart. And Lupin's like, I thought that would be obvious. I figured the thing that you feared the most was Lord Voldemort, and I didn't want to cause a panic. And Harry's like, wait a minute. Lupin actually says the word Voldemort, and the only other person I've seen do that is Professor Dumbledore, so but nothing really comes to fruition of that, at least not yet. And Harry goes, oh, yeah, that makes sense that you would think it would be Voldemort, but really I think it would be the Dementors. And Lupin's like, that's interesting. So the thing you fear the most is fear. And I was reading that thinking, I didn't see it that way, but that's actually pretty clever. It's kind of like with pain. People are more afraid of pain coming to them than the pain that they actually experience. So even just the fear of pain can make you do or say or want things that you otherwise would not. And it seems like that's sort of the same mentality here with fear. The fear of fear is worse than the actual fear itself. Then Snape walks into the classroom and brings Lupin a smoking goblet that has a complex potion in it. And Lupin just says it's to make him, perk up his spirits or something like that. And Snape claims to have a whole cauldron of it if Lupin wants more, but nobody will directly say what it is that he's drinking. It's an anti-werewolf potion. I don't know. Lupin did make a big deal that it's a very difficult to make potion, and he's lucky to have Snape here because not many wizards could handle it. So it's curious. We definitely have the little crumbs of a mystery starting with Lupin, but I don't know when or if they'll ever get that into full motion. He might be our biggest Scooby-Doo of all. And then to finally get to the title of the chapter, Flight of the Fat Lady, Harry's trying to get back into the common room at Gryffindor Tower, and there's this huge pile up, and Percy comes in like, make way, head boy here, best student at Hogwarts, and the fat lady is gone, and her painting is totally shredded. And by the time Dumbledore and Snape and McGonagall get over, Peeves shows up, and Dumbledore's like, tell me what you know, boy. Not really like that, but I feel like Dumbledore probably got stern with Peeves at one point, and that's why Peeves will not mess with Dumbledore. Otherwise, Dumbledore must have some kind of hierarchy power to kick Peeves out of the castle. There's some reason that Peeves will not mess with Dumbledore, but pretty much whatever Dumbledore asks, Peeves answers, and he says that, yeah, well, the fat lady's hiding. She's up on the 4th floor crying, and she doesn't want anybody to see what a mess she was because she just ran away screaming from her painting. And Dumbledore's like, well, did she say who it was? And Peeves is like, yeah, it was Sirius Black. Dun dun dun! End of chapter. Now, as for the chapter overall, I do like these kind of chapters where we have a lot of different things going on and we have time moving forward and we're not just stuck on one day or one problem. But it's really hard to discuss and get good notes on these chapters because there's just so many little things that you don't really know where to focus your attention. So I'm almost worried that I have missed things out of this chapter that are going to be important later, but I guess I have to wait until later to find out. Anyways, guys, thank you so much for watching. Remember to subscribe, follow, whatever, and check back for a new video on the next chapter next week. And we will see you next time, Fanily members. Bye! Well, Fanily members, we're almost done, but I want to invite you to hang out with me in some other places. I'm on Twitter and Instagram as my own personal self, and I have a Facebook page too, but I mostly just post photos over there. And sometimes people say, "Hey McGann, I want to mail you something. How do I do that?" Easy. Just click the About tab on my channel page, and my most current P.O. Box info will be right there. I also run another channel, The Fanily. It's really a hodgepodge channel where we might post anything. Oh yeah, and I also sell shirts and stickers and stuff with the Fanily and the Fangirl logos. If that is your cup of tea, I have a link in every description of every video. Finally, if you want to help out the Fangirl channel and make sure I'm putting out video essays for years to come, the best way you can help is by subscribing and watching more of my videos, whether they're new, old, whatever. Maybe even share one or two on social media, help spread the word. People who watch to the end of videos like you helps to tell the site, hey, this is a good video, we should recommend it to other people. So if you made it this far, leave me a comment of something like, hey, I made it to the end. Love ya. See you next time, Fanily members.